is going on? I am Jason Rouslin, and I'm here with Ben Rasa for the Live Before Lock show for the Mexico Open, not the Mexico Championship. But I'm going to start off because I got to ask Ben. Ben, would you rather have Golf de Chapultepec and 65 of the world's best, or Mexico Open at Vedanta and just Jon Rahm? How would you rather have it? Let's kick it off to start tonight.
Well, I make fun of Chapultepec so much. I think I have to say I would rather have this event. I can't talk about Chapultepec. We at least don't have elevation. I don't like that. That pisses me off. I'm excited for this. It's different. It's tough. Your builds look ugly. I'm here for it. So it's a weird situation. We've got Jon Rahm as the lightning rod up top. We're going to talk about all that tonight, but I'm pretty excited for this tournament.
I am as well. And listen, anytime that Ben likes to dive deep on these, I'll call them weaker fields, pay attention. He's normally on point. So we will get into that here tonight on the show sponsored by Yahoo. They have got some contests back here this week after taking a week off for the Zurich. So, of course, stay tuned for that. We've got a sweet deal going on with them. And, of course, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel here and our Odds Shopper channel, where Ben and myself are on every week talking about our favorite golf bets and so much more on that channel as well. So check that out. Now, let's dive into some waves, weathers, and withdrawal. First off, weather looks to be absolutely ideal. Not a breath of wind over 7 miles per hour, 85-degree temperatures. We could have a minus 30 winter this week, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the course is going to be pretty easy. I'm excited to see it. I think that leads to some of the strategies we're going to talk about. You know, you mentioned the weather. We've got the new weather split tool on the site, which is always very good. Makes my life a lot easier relying on our data. And it's just, to me, this is a lineup construction heavy week. What I mean by that is, to me, we only know so much. It's more about how you construct your lineups than who you're picking to some extent. And I like weeks like that. I think that suits what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, and the three withdrawals now maybe saved me money on all three ends. Daniel Berger was a long time ago, didn't even get printed in the field, of course. But then we get Kevin Chappell and Nick Hardy, two guys that did get priced in the field, two guys that I might have played. How about you? I mean, Nick Hardy, we've talked about quite a bit.
Yeah, so these were names that I actually, on Monday over on the OddsChecker YouTube channel with Chappell, I kind of mentioned him, and now he's not here. This could have saved me money if they were going to try to gut it out and not play well. I probably would have had exposure to maybe both of them. Yeah. It does thin out a range, though, that was in desperate need of some help already. So we're going to have to dig pretty deep when we get to the cheapies. Yeah.
And I just saw Brian in our chat tell me these are the exact reasons why I left New England, and you nailed it. I mean, I've got the same basically weather as Mexico does, where they are this week. We're on the same. What is that? I'm gonna embarrass myself. This one is latitude, right?
Yes.
Yes, the one that goes horizontally, right? Jesus, it's been a while, as you guys can tell. We're on the same latitude, so there we go. Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate it. I needed that.
Latitude is flatitude. Remember that.
Oh, there we go.
Third grade. It's all up here.
Speaking of third, this is going to be our third straight week where we hopefully, in this first segment, knock the first round leader out. Now, we talk about like 4 groups, maybe 5 here, so we're doing pretty good. Obviously, last week with Cantlay and Schauffele, maybe it was a little easier one, but the week before, Cameron Young. So this week, we've got some good guys going up right at the beginning. Davis Riley, Lee Hodges, Kierdak, Appy Bonrat is in one group, and Aaron Rye is playing with Nick Taylor in the other group. So first round leader only. Do you think like Aaron Rye might be able to keep it going? Would you like to throw a little bit of money on him this week?
Yeah, I mean, that is a name that I was kind of drawn to. I am hitting the group, which gets you nothing. The first round leader group, I like Davis Riley. He played with Cameron Young that week. That doesn't get you anything, but I think we've kind of been on it. You've mentioned some of these early tee times, and Aaron Rye, him and Lipsky, you know, they were overshadowed a little bit by some of the bigger performances, but they played great last week. So I get that. I'm here for it. If you're building a first round leader card and you have multiple bullets, that's one that I could live with.
Yeah, another thing that's nice is because it's a full field event, we get the full ESPN Plus coverage. So we're going to get Cam Champ playing with Jon Rahm, Charles Howell in the morning, Pat Reed, Brendan Todd, Sebastian Munoz, along with Pat Perez, who is the king of Pascal greens, I guess is what we've been told. Camilo Villegas and Sahith Theegala are the marquee groups. So My question to you is about Jon Rahm. This is how I've decided to bet him. My thought is that he either goes out and takes a first round lead, which you can get 12-1, maybe a little bit better in certain spots, or he plays bad and you can get better than 3.5-1 to win the tournament after round one. So are you okay with my strategy and how I'm betting Jon Rahm this week?
So I'm pretty okay with it in the sense that I don't really think it's actionable to bet him before the tournament. You can either not bet him, or you can wait and hope that he doesn't, if he plays terrible for some reason, that's good. You saved yourself an outright. If he plays normal, his odds are going to increase, and then you can bet him because he can make up 10 strokes in one round. It's not a huge deal. So I like that philosophy. If I do something with Rahm in the betting market, I have not yet. That is what I would do as well.
Finau answer Nah is playing with Woodland, Ortiz, and McDowell. Those are your afternoon tee times if you're looking for first round leader coming out of that. We will talk a little bit about Kevin Na and Grayson Murray here in just a little bit. But let's first go into some rankings. I want to go right into some of the players and talk about that before we have a little bit of fun with Murray and Na. So this first rank event is going to be if not Rahm. Who would you rather have to start your lineup? It's Tony Finau, Abe Answer, and Kevin Na. I also give you an option of someone else if you'd rather do that.
I will say as well, friend of the show and all-around good guy, Saint with the super chat, round of drinks. Appreciate that. Just good stuff. Thanks for hopping in. As always, my man. It would be Tony Finau for me. Ball striking wise, it's getting better. Made 3 or 4 cuts. Made the cut at Augusta. I think if it goes really easy conditions, it actually suits him. I also think that because, not that you can't do this, and I'm going to try to, but most people, if they click Rahm, the last thing they're going to want to do is click the guy right below him and allocate even more salary. So I think it creates a little leverage for Finau in that sense. I would go with him, but Rahm is the obvious target because he's simply too cheap, even at 11-3.
He is way cheap. That was one of the first things I was talking about with Alex, our buddy, of course, Alex Baker, boss man. I said to him before salary even came out, I said, boss man, Rahm is like 3 times better than everybody in the field. What should his salary be? And he told me it should have been north of 12,000. And here we are at 11.3 on DraftKings. It's just not nearly high enough. Nonetheless, let's talk about for my 3 guys, Finau, Answer, Na. I just want to ask you a quick question about Answer. Why does he keep withdrawing from stuff that he signs up for? Plays good at the match play, plays bad at the Masters. What's going on there?
I don't know. And sometimes when you don't know, I think it's an interesting buy, but it's not good. It's been a pretty bad start to 2022. Nothing inside the top 30. Pair of missed cuts recently. The stats are a little all over the map. They're not alarming, but when you're allocating north of 10, I don't really see it. I'm not advocating for a full fade or anything like that, but priority, certainly not Answer for me this week.
You know what else isn't working is the mustache that he tried to pull off at the Masters. Let me tell you, he even made fun of himself about that. He said I had to go look at what's going on with him. Went to his Instagram and he just made fun of himself for having a bad mustache. And we'll say he's been out on the press tour for this event. So clearly he is one of the ambassadors for it. Maybe he wanted to withdraw from the RBC to do more media stuff for this event. Who knows? Obviously coming from Mexico, highest ranked player there. He's going to have a lot of the fans behind him. Carlos Ortiz, another one that we'll talk about in that regard. All right, now next rank him. I want to talk about the winner's drought. Cam Tringale has never won a PGA Tour event, as crazy as that sounds. He's the second favorite behind Jon Rahm on DraftKings right now. I don't know that that's that way everywhere, but it's Rahm at 3.5, Cam Tringale, Abe Answer, and Tony Finau all at 20-1. Crazy. Then we've got Chris Kirk, who hasn't won on the PGA Tour in a while, and Russell Knox. I can't tell you the last time he won. So of the winner's drought golfers, who are you picking to say probably pair with Rahm this week, or maybe to start another lineup without him?
Yeah, so I think that those are both going to be situations you're going to look to balance builds if you forego Rahm or aggressive, not even aggressive, just standard second man in. I'm getting on the Tringale train. That's a name that I normally don't play, but he's been pretty good. His 12th at Heritage. He had some issues in Florida, but a lot of that is masked by water. Like when you're driving it into the water, it looks very alarming. It's just different. I don't really worry about that a ton. He's kind of showed some form. He never wins, but I don't really care about that. 8 of 9 positive in the approach game. So him and Wise are there in the mid nines. I'm okay with it. But again, they're probably my second man in because I'm really trying to get to Rahm.
Yeah, I actually am more comfortable paying 9.8 for Cam Tringale than I am 9.6 for Chris Kirk this week. I know that Tringale went through a little bit of a rough patch with an injury around the Pebble Beach, if I'm not mistaken. I remember watching him, play on the second hole, and he was grabbing his back. Looks like obviously he's past that injury. I'm okay with Tringale, but I'd rather go to our third rankum here, and that's top end talent. And when I say top end talent, it's maybe not golfers that are there every week. Certainly they're not, because if they were top end talent, they probably wouldn't be in this field. But maybe it should have been titled top end potential, as Aaron Wise, Cam Champ, and Gary Woodland, in my opinion, should be 3 of the best players in this field outside of Jon Rahm, but I've run into some troubles. One can't putt, one can't do his irons, and actually maybe 2 can't putt in Wise and Woodland. So who do you like? Maybe it's all 3.
I think in a way, all 3 do suit certain things. For me, Cameron Champ is a better bet because when he gets right, if it happens to be an off the tee course that's heavy, you're getting like 60 to 1 or better. I'm okay with that. But I also think if he doesn't have it, it could be an easy miscut for him. I think Gary Woodland would be the obvious target. The thing that's a little alarming, looking at our premium, I give people a peek inside the glass for our ownership projections. Gary Woodland and Aaron Wise are 2 of the most popular plays on the entire slate. And although I like them, that isn't great for me because you're going to have to allocate north of 20% to get leverage. So I'm okay with those guys, but it looks like the field is as well.
Yeah, they are. And let's talk about Cameron Champ for a second. What I would call a one tool, if you're a baseball familiar reference, or a one attribute player, in the fact that he relies heavily on his strokes gained off the tee to get it done. Now, we think that could be a huge benefactor this week with now longer par 4s, still 4 par 5s. Do you think that Cam Champ coming in low owned could be the play here?
So again, it's kind of that boom bust. That's why I think it lends itself a little more to betting. But you were mentioning but the ownership does, when you tell me it's kind of like the Matthew Wolff thing. And Matthew Wolff is a lot more broken, but it's like, okay, Cameron Champ probably going to win once a year for a while. And when he doesn't win, he's missing a lot of cuts at 5%. That's interesting. I think the floor is pretty bad, but if it's a weird course and maybe his skills comp more than we see on the surface, it could be an underutilized play. Yeah,
I will say if you play elsewhere, like our sponsor Yahoo, he's just $34 over there. I think a lot easier to get in, a lot more towards the average price rather than paying the $9,400 on DK. Again, you mentioned right when odds broke out, he was 71, 60 to 1. He's now down to about 45. But if you got him at 70 or 60, I think you're sitting, you're excited. You maybe don't even need necessarily to get exposure on DFS, because I think that's a great number to have, certainly, especially on Champ. This type of field. Okay, let's go to the scorer's delight now. These are 3 golfers that we've seen go nuclear low in certain instances. Sebastian Munoz getting a lot of love this week. Matt Jones shot 30 under in a golf tournament and didn't win earlier this season. Then we got Kevin Streelman, who has been painful at times this year. I think he's a bit overpriced. Munoz is getting too much love, so I'd fall under Matt Jones if I had to pick one of the 3.
I would as well. Good win player. He's an Australian, can handle maybe some adverse conditions if we get something like that. It's also a process of elimination. I don't like Streelman at all. So get him out of there. Munoz, I don't really know what's going on. It's a situation. Maybe I'm a little still shaken up by, 33rd of the players doesn't tell the story. It was second until he played on Monday and everything fell apart. I don't know exactly where that game is at. He's a fine target, but you're paying almost 10,000. Give me Matt Jones or Russell Knox in the lower 9s before I go there.
Yeah, our buddy TS in chat, Tokyo, our Billy Hostan is also a Sebastian guy, and brings up that his caddy vanished, and now, like I've mentioned, has kind
vanished.
Vanished is the word used here. So we're gonna have to look up that one.
Vanished, like held for ransom in the jungles, like proof of life, or like
we're gonna have to wait for the Netflix documentary here. But he does have a mysterious injury. He's withdrawn a couple of times, even in tournament he's withdrawn. So definitely some interesting to note there. All right, this next one's going to be the toughest one for me by far all night. I call them the high 8K range. 3 in a row. I want to play. I like playing. I don't know what I should do because I like all 3. Maybe I'll just play them all in the same lineup. Doug Gim, Sahith Theegala, and Aaron Rai. Theegala let me down big time last week. Doug Gim was fine playing with Mateo Schwab, and we already talked about Aaron Rai. So do you see yourself playing Gim or Theegala over Rai this week? I'm going to guess no.
I would say no. Again, if you're going to talk to me about guys like this, these are our opportunities. There's some, I don't even know about course comp, but mindset comp to the alt events where guys break through. Chad Ramey has done it. We've seen, Smalley was right there. Theegala, Gim, these guys are on the list. There's no doubt about it. But having said that, you are right. I think that Aaron Rai has a lot of experience. He's starting to translate it here. That is where I would go in the upper 8s.
His ball striking game is so solid. It really is. Having a chance to watch him. We knew coming over from Europe that he gets really hot and when he gets in form. And it's definitely showing here. I mean, I think he had what it was like a win, kind of like the Rasmus Højgaard, a win in like 2 other top 5s in a 4 or 5, tournament span over there. Certainly has proved well for him. All right, this next one's going to be the Korn Ferry Tour grad rankum. We got Davis Riley coming in at 8,400, Taylor Moore at 8,200, and Chad Ramey at 7,900. And maybe I'm becoming a Chad Ramey stan, Ben, but I like him the best out of these 3, and he's the cheapest, so I'll go for it.
Yeah, I get it. Again, he's someone that he's taken advantage of some of these situations. He was 5th at Puerto Rico, and he won at Corrales. He's made a couple cuts since then, hasn't done much. The guy that's toughest for me is Taylor Moore. I was concerned about him. He got with his partner last week, and they did some serious work really well.
Yeah, him and Neesmith. Yep.
Yeah, him and Neesmith. We're getting him around 6% here. It's not bad. I thought I wouldn't have as much interest as I do. Davis Riley, I can't get right. I think he's always going to be a perpetual play, but the price didn't stand out to me.
So when you put Taylor Moore up against these tour veterans that I'll say, in Charles Howell, Carlos Ortiz, Lanto Griffin, Mark Hubbard, Anraban Lahiri, do any of those names stand out to you and saying, all right, I should play in front of the 6% owned Taylor Moore?
So
is it back to Lahiri with how easy off the tee it could be?
I got that question a lot this week in our premium Discord as well as on Twitter. And I just don't know. He looked so good at the Players in Valero. He made the cut at Heritage, but the irons completely went away. And that was the real catalyst. I think that Charles Howell sets up pretty well at 84. Guy kind of just does what he does. He's got some missed cuts here and there, but the ball striking's all over the map. I'm going to throw Heritage out. If you do throw that out, it's pretty good body of work for him at 84. So I get that. Lanto's a fine target, but I do prefer CH3 if I have to land there.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me.
This is tough.
Yeah, this range, it really is. Playing good golf, pretty much on no matter what, Torrey's playing on. Another good start with his partner last week in Ryan Brehm is a guy named Mark Hubbard, right? I mean, he's just getting it done. And believe it or not, if you check into our projections here, he's actually behind Rahm. Rahm is actually the best value according to our projections, even at 11.3. That's, as we were talking about at the top, I just wanted to bring that up. Mark Hubbard is the 3rd ranked value golfer above 8,000 this week, according to our projections. He's playing good golf everywhere. He takes advantage of these alternate field events quite a bit. I think I like him the best. I think I want to like Lahiri, but I don't know. Like you said, the irons being really off scares me. It doesn't matter how easy off the tee it is. So, yeah, this is, I guess, a little tough for me. I'll go Mark Hubbard here as my pick. Okay. So, all right, let's go to make the cut here. And again, with it being such a weak field, we're going to have plenty of time to talk about any questions that you guys have, any long shots. Of course, we're going to do some lineup builds. We had another really good week last week. I think all 3 of our lineups that we made on this thing cashed, and at one point it was doing really good. So we will try and go for the turkey and go 3 for 3 in just a little bit. Before we do, though, let's talk about Adam Long, who was a big play for me last week, partnering with Bo Hoag, but he did not get it done. At 7,800, I'm out, and I don't think he plays for all 4 days here this week.
He's on the cusp for me. I'm going to side with you as well. partly because you've got right next to him Chad Ramey. You've got Stallings right below him. Wyndham Clark is there as well. He hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't been great either. He's got the right formula off the tee and putting at times. But to me, so does Wyndham Clark and so does Patrick Rodgers. So I don't really like Adam Long this week.
Yeah, chat just brought up Scott Stallings. It looks like they're going back and forth. I understand why he's over 10% owned, but I don't think I can get there. I do think he plays all 4 days. Hot take, Rahm withdraws.
That is a hot take.
I will see you for the PGA Championship if that happens. I'm taking a couple weeks off.
If that happens, we're both taking off. And my friend, you're just going to come and do the show by yourself because you got the crystal ball.
Yeah, oil 1, 2, 3, 3.
Yeah,
it's your
I'm
show
remembering that.
Yeah.
That would also be bad because I'm like most people going to probably jam Rahm here. So
you have to.
Yeah, the only time Rahm withdrew is when he had it wrapped up in
at a 9-shot lead. Yeah.
All right. Where are we at? Scott Stallings? Yeah, I think that ownership wise, it's a little alarming, but it does check out. Really good scorer, can take advantage of the par fives. I don't think Heritage was the best course for him, and he also lost 4 strokes putting. So what's there to really say? You lose 4 strokes putting in 2 rounds, you should miss the cut. I think he bounces back with a quality result here.
Okay. A little bit different there, and that's okay. Because I think I'd rather just play David Lipsky, I think is why I, am kind of torn off of him. So does Lipsky keep it going? He's had a good season. Again, a top 10 at the alternate field event, which translated into some pretty good success at the Zergs last week with Aaron Ryan.
I think he does. I don't have any quantifiable data, but I'm always an advocate of go to Europe, get reps, being in the hunt, being in tournaments for 4 days rather than just getting destroyed on the PGA Tour and not having status. Lipsky did that. Now he's getting starts here and he's making cuts.
I'm laughing because there's just some great Rahm takes going on in the chat.
Yeah, he's on the Zach Levine protocol. Just permanent protocol.
Sponsorship obligations. I'll have to look up who I believe you, Tokyo. I'm just curious to who it would be. Is it Vedanta or Vedante? It can't be. That's
the hell
resort.
Is that?
It's the resort that it's being played at. Yeah. Anyways,
I don't know.
He's going to be eating pancakes with fresh fruit, avocados, or whatever on top on Saturday morning. Is what the chat is looking right here. But there is some good takes. Listen, I think it is I think the reason why chat continues to talk about it is because it's the first time all year that we've had a golfer that could be 50% owned on the main slate and probably under-owned at that price. So it's interesting what many people are going to do, full fade, all in. For me, I am okay with playing him at the ownership of what he's projected, which is around 50%. So not going to lie there. All right, let's go on to another golfer here in this range. Let's talk about a couple of Pats. Let's start off with Rodgers, who almost helped me out nail a hot take last week. They did not play as well as I needed to on Sunday, the team of Rodgers and Wu. So does Rodgers make the cut here this week? Seems like a good course. And then let's take his partner in, Brandon Wu. Does he continue the good form here this week?
I think that they do. This is a guy, Brandon Wu, was brought up. This is why I love doing these shows. And it looks like he might be trending upwards. Patrick Rodgers, it hasn't been good, but it's a resort course. It could be very generous fairways. You take the off the tee issues, and long term, off the tee should not be an issue for Patrick Rodgers. It never was. I think this could be a pretty good bounce back. He's made some cuts. He just hasn't had any placement points of any kind. I think that Patrick Rodgers has a pretty good showing here. Again, I prefer Wyndham Clark, but I wouldn't be uncomfortable getting to Rodgers.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't put Wyndham Clark on the list, but let's talk about him now, is because I think he's trending and we've seen him play well. And I guess it's an actually very similar event to this one, the Bermuda Championship. Came in second there. His irons have been the problem, but it seemed like they were okay last week. Seemed like they were okay at Harbortown a couple of weeks ago. So trending in the right direction with, we won't call it top end talent, but I think you and I would agree that at his best, he probably does have some of the most potential in this field. So 7,600, I'm in as well there. Now the second Pat I want to talk about, the king of Paspalum, as what's been said, but he is a no for me in these events, given what he did to me at Bermuda, It's Patty Perez. I'm out. You could be in. I'll let you deal with it.
Well, Pat Perez just straight up left the island at Bermuda. That was unfortunate. Him and Wesley Bryan did a number on me that week. Not great. Yes, he does have the pass palm, and I do think there are certainly some things, if you're going to look at OHL and some of those things, why you'd have some interest. I just look at this. It's a pretty good range. You've got Nate Lashley, JT Poston, Wyndham Clark, Patrick Rodgers, Scott Stallings, Smalley is there, Svensson, who we'll get to. I prefer almost all those guys over Pat Perez. So, if I had 150, maybe I'd sprinkle Pat Perez in there, but he's not a priority for 3 max or higher stakes or anything like that for me.
What the self-mute on this? Yes, Eric. Yes. We've been doing this for quite a few years. Yeah, we do love it. Speaking of golfers that we're not used to seeing at the price they are, this golfer is a top 5 in the field with his strokes gained on the approach on the season. Doesn't have a ton of starts at $7,800. It's Austin Smotherman. Let's say Smootherman because I like to pronounce it that way, but I think it's the former here. 7,800 seems like too high price, but top 5 in strokes gained on the approach for the season in this field. So what do you make of Austin Smootherman? And just to be clear, Luke Donald is also top 5 in this field in strokes gained on the approach on the season.
I'm not playing Luke Donald. We can get that out of here.
Easy.
That's easy. This dude, it's a little tougher because tee to green and with the approach, he does stand out amongst his peers. His around the green game is absolutely abysmal. If he's in the sand a lot, it's going to be a problem. Let me see. Honestly, I'm gonna do this on the fly. Where is Mr. Smotherman here? 6%. Yeah, I think that's fine, but I'm gonna still roll with some of the guys that we talked about. Patrick Rodgers, certainly Wyndham Clark. That's my guy in the mid range. CT Pan, a little more expensive, so I don't mind it, but not a priority.
All right, we get this question a bit when we see different grass types, and Matthew wants to ask, and I think you have a good response to this. It's generic, but it's a good response. How much weight should we give to guys who traditionally kill or crush past balance?
So what I do with situations like this, I don't go crazy because it's a small sample size. I kind of build independently, and then I arrive at ranges, and I'm like, man, I got 2 or 3 guys, and I don't know what to do. I'll look at the splits then. And if one guy stands out, there's the tiebreaker. So I kind of use it as that secondary approach. I'm not going to say I love this guy, but he doesn't have past column splits. I can't play him. I think that's too aggressive, but it's something. It's just not the end all be all.
Yeah, for sure. Total in agreement there. Okay. Let's see. Who do I got next on my list? One second here. Grayson Sig, he's there at 7,300. I got a couple of guys above him, but let's go Grayson Sig first.
Yeah, Grayson Sig, he's someone, I'll be honest, I kind of expected, I don't want to say a little more out of because he hasn't been bad by any stretch, but he's making a lot of cuts. He's made 8 out of 9, but he really hasn't done anything, nothing inside the top 20. I think that the price is pretty good. He's been lower 7s and better fields than this, but I prefer Adam Svensson.
Okay. Benny asked the question of the night here, Ben. What grows faster, your mustache or my regular hair? It's close.
I need a haircut. Tomorrow I'm getting a haircut. It has to be done.
Oh man.
Sad.
We might need to know who you're picking to win this week here a couple of times because cutting the hair, that's gonna happen.
I gotta change the mojo.
Yeah, it almost happened with Van Rooyen a couple of weeks ago. I was gonna just lose it.
That guy.
On the show, you're like not playing him for the first time in a while, and then I said he's probably gonna win. And then on late Sunday, it looked like he was gonna win, and I was literally throwing a hissy fit. Anyways, Mike H brings up a great point about pricing that I talk about quite a bit. Smotherman, Clark, Rodgers, and Brandon Wu.
Crazy.
All minimum on Yahoo this week. That's why I love playing it. Thanks to Yahoo, the sponsor of our show. Great time to tell you that if you have not checked it out over there, there's some great place for it. And if you sign up, make a deposit, and play in tomorrow's contest, you're going to get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. That's going to give you access to all of the sports we give projections for, ownership, player projections, so much more. We've got, like 7 or 8 sports going on right now. And now I just saw we've got some NFL content going on. So, Ben, it's a great freaking time for sports right now. I'm not going to lie. Okay. So of those minimum price guys on Yahoo, give me one that you like the best, because we've talked about a lot of guys that are 7,700 on TK that you can get for basically free over on Yahoo.
It would, if I only needed one, it would be Wyndham Clark. But I think a lot of people, including I actually built a lineup over there. I might throw in a couple more. I have some that have like 2 or even 3 guys at near the min, so I could get Rahm and somebody else at the top. So like, to me, there's nothing wrong with having Clark and Rodgers in there.
Yep. My one lineup that is my placeholder has Clark and Brandon Wu in there right now. That's why I like doing it. Okay. Tyler Duncan was just brought up by the chat, and I had him on my list next. He's playing pretty good. Not bad. In 7,200 in this field, I don't mind it.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. It's not a priority. Again, I know I've said that a couple of times, but he's next to Chase Seaford, and Chase Seaford's getting some love. I've seen him talked up by me as well. T-Dunks, hey, he's a winner on tour. He can do it. I don't really see the need to force it with him. He's more of an outlier play, the leverage tool, things like that. A lot of things I rely on. He didn't stand out in any way to me. So that's kind of where I am.
Again, 7,200, I think he plays all 4 days, so I don't mind it there at that point. Does Matt Wallace finally making a cut with his partner Sam Horsfield get him going, or is it broken?
No, it's broken. I was actually really pissed off at myself. I screwed up my matchups last week, but I did short them on the tournament side, and it worked out just fine because when they got to alternate shot, it wasn't the same because Horsfield wasn't able to carry it. I'm going to short Matt Wallace once again in the head-to-head market. His off the tee game is Patrick Reed like right now. I just have no interest in him until it changes.
$10,000 in this field, by the way, 10,000. Just thought I'd let you know.
I also don't really get that. If Reed beats me, so bad.
I think he's going to be 1% owned, so I don't think you have to worry about that all that much.
Yeah.
My next question, let me ask you something about that. Let's say Patrick Reed is about 4% owned, right? And we haven't projected around 5 right now. Last I talked to Alex, it was trending down. At what point do you say to yourself, 4% might be worth it to play? And how much would you play of him given that scenario? This is kind of like what happens with Spieth on a weekly basis that I go through. I'm not doing it with Reed, though. 10,000 is just too high of a price.
Yeah, I do think it approaches that where we're at. Just because he's Patrick Reed and he's a great talent, and maybe the course is a catalyst for something. If you can get 10 to 12% of a guy and 2.5x him, and you've got the talent of Patrick Reed, I get it. But at the same time, depending on what your portfolio looks like, you can't just be doling out shares everywhere. And to me, Patrick Reed is more likely than not to still have a middling at best finish.
Yeah. Now, if the fairways are as wide as we expect them to be, do you think that Patrick Reed can overcome? I mean, he came in a tie for 35th at the Masters while gaining 4.6 strokes putting and only came in a tie for 35th. It's just not somebody I want to play 10K for. That's the bottom line. He hit 60% of his greens. It's not good enough for me. I would much rather pay the 1,300 and get an out of form Jon Rahm than a guy in Patrick Reed that's gaining 5 strokes putting and not even getting in the top 25. It's just maybe he will this week, but I don't think he's going to burn me. So it's simple there. Kurt Kitayama have been playing pretty good golf. 7,100 falls in that David Lipsky, Aaron Rai category. If you had told me that all 3 of these guys were 7,500 in a Euro field last year, I would have believed you, no problem. Here they are now, separated by quite a bit on the PGA Tour. So where do you put Kitayama up with Lipsky and Rai?
I think he is behind them. Really hasn't done much. He came out of nowhere. He had missed 5 straight cuts and he came in 3rd at Honda. Just found it. Followed that up with the 28th at Puerto Rico. I think he missed the cut of Valspar and Corrales. I think that he doesn't actually make the weekend. It's work in progress, maybe a little upside, but I've said that about a lot of guys. Kurt Kitayama is someone I'm going to have to live without this week.
I don't care that Happy Barnrat. He's getting some starts. When he does, seems like he makes the weekend, but he has not contended. Kind of one of those things. I was listening to a podcast and I commented on Twitter. Justin Thomas said, majors are some of the easiest to contend at if you have the right mindset. And Thomas hasn't contended at a major since, he won the PGA at Quail Hollow. Kind of same with Happy Barnrat. He's getting to the weekend, but he's not making any noise.
Yeah, it's not good right now. He has made some weekends, and that honestly, from where he was in the end of middle of 2021, it's actually an improvement.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to do with him, honestly, because the stats are all over the place. Nothing really looks good, but this guy's a talent. There's no doubt that Effie Barnrat at 2% owned is a pretty interesting tournament play.
Agreed. I'm laughing because I just saw Justin Wilson's comment about Lipsky and Rye being whiskey and rye.
Hey, look at that teammate. That's a perfect Zurich Classic partnership.
Oh, I wonder if they walked up to like whiskey is gone. What that song? You know,
Do they have walk-up music?
I don't even know if they did, but they talked about having it, but I didn't end up hearing any. So
maybe Grayson and Na will play next year. Elite combo.
For all of you that are just joining us or haven't been on the Twitter airwaves, Kevin Na and Grayson Murray continued their feud this week, but this time in person, as Kevin Na was seen walking up to Grayson, yelling profanities at him. They got face to face, had a little bumpty bump, and that's where we were. Grayson Murray said it was the Grayson Murray of old. He would have knocked his ass out right there. Who would you take in a fight, Grayson Murray or Kevin Na? That is the question of the day, Ben.
I think it has to be Grayson, right?
Well, what if like Na is secretly like incredibly good at jujitsu, and
that would be sick. I would be like if they went into UFC, I'd be rooting for Kevin Na.
Yeah, give me that cage match.
My favorite part about this is like Grayson's like, we're not gonna miss him on the PGA Tour. It's like, what do you mean we? You're not on the tour either. Get the hell like. The tour might not miss Kevin Na if he leads. They're not going to miss you either because you're not a part of it. So interesting little feud. One of the more random feuds. Like I don't really get it, but
that's just one of the most random sports feud in like history. Like I don't know. It seems like whatever.
I hope they're paired Saturday. That will never happen.
Let's abolish the weekends. Yeah, let's abolish the match with Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes, and Josh Allen. Let's abolish that and make the match a cage match from Kevin Na and Grayson Murray. I would pay pay-per-view for it. I would watch every second of it. I want it. Okay. Who I am interested in, maybe don't want on every lineup, but definitely interested in this week is the other Woo, Dylan Woo. Played really good with Justin Lauer last week, one of maybe the lowest rated teams that played amazing. Where'd that come from?
Well, I mean, I don't know because I don't know who Justin Lauer, I look at the leaderboard and it's just like, oh,
that guy.
So yeah, again, these are the type of tournaments. I say this every year at the end of the year, when you look at the FedEx Cup, there's going to be a couple guys inside the top 125 and you're going to be like, how? This guy sucks. Yeah, it's because he came in third at the Mexico Open and he came in 12th at Puerto Rico. And these starts are huge for guys like this. They take advantage of them. So I'm not going to say go to all of them, but when you have talents like this, guys that are looking to grind it out, these are some of the most important weeks for them. And I think that their play kind of reflects it.
Agreed. I'm also along the same lines as last week. Maybe he didn't have as good a finish, but again, one of the lowest rated teams. Callum Tarrant and his partner David Skins. I'm seriously hoping I'm saying this right. I know that they're both from the Korn Ferry Tour, but how about this guy Callum Tarrant? I mean, 6,700 this week, playing okay. Could he make your lineups? He made at least a top 20 bet for me because our projections like him, and why not in this field?
So this is where you kind of have to. I think that's actually a pretty sharp move to sprinkle some of the top 20s. You're getting good plus money on guys like this. He is the same type of guy as Kitayama in the sense of his form, not in terms of skill. He missed like 7-8 straight cuts, 30th at Honda, 5th at Puerto Rico, then a couple more missed cuts. And then you mentioned him at the team event. I don't know what to make of him. If you told me to name a golfer named Callum, I would say Callum Shrinkwin, who I know a little about. This is not him as far as I know. He doesn't have dual last names. This is Callum Tarrant. I would rather play some of the guys that I've seen a little more of in this range. But when we were talking cheapies, you have room for guys like Woo and Tarrant this week if you need them.
All right. So I got another name. You and I have talked a bit about Alex Smalley, right? And we both like Alex Smalley a lot. We love how he got it done. Well, this year's Alex Smalley. no doubt, is Patrick Flavin. He is Monday qualified now 4 times and made the cut in each of the 3 before this, which was the Puerto Rico, the Corrales, and what was the other one he did? I'll get it here in a second.
Bermuda?
I think it was Bermuda. It was Bermuda. So now he gets his 4th. He gets FedEx Cup points for all those. And he just scored a sponsor exemption to the John Deere, his first sponsor exemption. So it's likely if he makes one of those 2 cuts, he gets into the Korn Ferry Tour finals, which of course is exactly what Smalley did, doing it through Monday qualifying, ended up coming in the top 25 of the Korn Ferry Tour finals. And here he is playing solid golf on the PGA Tour. So do we back Patrick Flavin, seeing how we just had a golfer, very similar type of career form, get it done?
I mean, it can be done. I think you may want to back one of these guys. I would strongly suggest picking 1 or even 2, depending on how many lineups, and having small exposure. I think for every one of them that plays good, there's going to be 2 or 3 that don't. I have never, ever in my entire life played Patrick Flavin, so that would be a new guy to the – there's a lot of guys in this field that I have never rostered, and I've been playing PGA DFS for quite a while.
Yes, we have. I mean,
who's Ben Griffin?
Yeah, so I couldn't find anything about him other than then there's a Turk Petit, and then there's an Armando Farvola, and then there's a David Lingmerth. I've heard of David Lingmerth. I can't believe.
Well, I've played him. Believe me, I got the invoices. Very bad.
Played. Then there's the guy that broke the Kevin Na and Grayson Murray story, and Ricky Barnes, who great story about him when he was an amateur. More about when he's an amateur than not. We can keep going all the way down to
Sangmoon Bay.
Sangmoon Bay is here. DA Points is 3 for 4 in making the cut this year. Ben Crane is known for maybe his rap music now rather than his PGA Tour play. Oh man, I mean it gets tough.
How low? Let me kind of ask you as we kind of get into the bets and the lineups. How low do you think you'll go? Like I looked at Duffner. I think that's okay. I don't see myself going into the lower 6s though. To me, mid 6K range is where I'd land on Yahoo. You could play a lot of $20 guys because they're mid 7K golfers on DraftKings.
David Skins, I think, would be one lineup. 6,300. He played well last week. I already mentioned. Again, I'll have like 2 lineups with him, maybe 1 of the 300 that I'm doing. So what's that? Not even a full percentage to him, but he's in one of those 1 lineup kind of guys.
That's fine.
All right, let's go to the betting card. Before we do, let's tell you about some of the free tools that are typically premium that we've got going on today. The one that you can really take advantage of is the golfer projections tool for PGA. That is today. The other ones, well, let's see. We've got a late slate. So for MLB, player rankings are free. NBA, do we have a night game tonight, Ben, for the NBA? I think we might. And if we do,
it's the Warriors and the Nuggets.
Okay. Yep. Nice. Ownership rankings then are free there for that game. Check it out. And NHL, maybe we do have a late slate. The player rankings are free if we do for that as well. Check all those out. Okay, so for betting card, I already mentioned how I'm dealing with Rahm. I'm going to the first round lead. You're getting 12-1, which I thought a pretty good offering. I'll play him to get hot on the first. Abraham Answer, I decided that I would rather bet at 20-1 than pay 10,400 for on DraftKings and feel like if he's going to play well, he'll win rather than just top 5. So I went to that. And then the each ways after that is Aaron Wise, Cam Champ, Wyndham Clark, Brandon Wu, and one guy we didn't talk about in our Make the Cut segment that is actually a big play. I think he probably might be for you too. Chase Seifert, the guy gets it done whenever he plays. Got him at 150-1 bet, and I love the top 20, top 10 bet for him.
Odds Shopper YouTube. You can listen to my full card there. Chase Seifert is in that video, 150-1. I got the same number as you. Wyndham Clark is there. I really like his top 10 at 8-1. That's a good number. He's a guy that can get in the mix. I don't mind sprinkling, but that's the type of guy I like to ladder with because I think that he could be in the mix pretty easily. The other thing for my betting card, I've been doing this. I am shorting the matchups for Grillo and Matt Wallace until either of them show me something. I did it last week. RCB and Grillo had absolutely nothing in alternate shot. Grillo is bad in alternate shot. They're terrible. Both of them and Matt Wallace as well, whoever they are up against, I will take the other side until I see.
Did you even write down who you got? Because I know it's just a straight blind. Basically, you basically bet
It's
anybody.
blind. I've seen Graham McDowell be matched up with Matt Wallace, and you're getting plus money on Graham McDowell. I'm completely content with that. If you want to go there with Grio, it was Scott Piercy, who again I don't really care. I think that's fine. Minus 110 on Piercy. So I just am not into. I'm just going to short them. I have no interest in either.
I love it a lot. I'm in on it. I told you about Bryson. We take this stance when we see players that are just horrible and they're not turning it around, yet the odds makers are still putting up good things. I mean, we got some pretty good names against Bryson at the Masters for it. Again, maybe Scott Piercy's not the best name, but he played pretty good last week, at least for one round. We've got a couple of reasons. So I like all that. All right, let's go into line of builds, and then we'll get into our hot takes. I'm going to have to give two because mine is going to be similar to the one last week. We're going to press it, but I'll give another one too. Don't worry. But first, let's do some lineup builds. First one I want to do is Jon Rahm. And the guy that I picked next was Aaron Wise. I really think he's close. We saw him gain strokes putting finally at the RBC. I looked into his strokes gain on the approach. It said he lost 2 for the week, Ben, but he hit almost 70% of his greens. So typically when something like that happens, first off, 70% of the greens was the top 15 in the field too. So not like that was bad. 70% greens in regulation. It means that he basically hit like 1 or 2 or 3 in the water and lost a lot of strokes on one swing rather than small amount of strokes on a lot of swings. So if that's the case, we'll write it off. He's a great iron player. I think him and Rahm are pretty good. We still get 7,300 per player, which, we've talked about a lot of guys in the mid 7s. So if we went Rahm Wise, who's the first guy you got to pick, knowing we need to get a little bit of a salary buffer?
So we're going to have to find the salary buffer. My first guy would actually do nothing to the salary. It would be Svensson. He's 7,300. You've got Brandon Wu at 7,300 as well. Yep. You can take guys like that. And then we're playing with 2v2 style instead of needing, 4 guys at that price, give or take. So I actually like peppering that range. And you have a lot of options. A guy like Chase Seifert could fit in there as well.
So that's going to leave us because, I'm very tied to Wu this week. You got Svensson, I got Seifert. It's going to leave us 7,500. I'm not picking Patty Perez.
No.
JT Poston, did he have his climax a couple of weeks ago with the 3rd place finish at RBC? I kind of think so. So
Lashley.
Are we going to go to Lashley or are we going to go back to Alex Smalley here?
Yeah, Alex Smalley, leave $100 on the table. I have no problem with that at all.
Corrales took advantage of that weak field event like we talk about. So I think it's Smalley here. You all right with that?
I'm certainly all right with that. You could also look and change it up a little if you wanted to and try to go get like Wyndham Clark at 76 and just reduce somewhere else $100. That's an option. So there's a lot of guys. An interesting build that you mentioned is Rahm and don't go into the 6s. That's a tough build, but it can be done.
It is. Yeah, we're definitely attempting it here, no doubt about it. So, all right, I'm going to go with the Smalley and leave $100 on the table. I think I like that one. That's my favorite of the bunch. Now, though, let's turn to just interesting to see where you go with this. Let's do just a Jon Rahm. Let's skip out on everybody else above 9K. So we're going to build a really balanced Jon Rahm lineup. I want to see where you go first. We got about 7,800 per player. Who would be the first person you click in now in this second lineup? Knowing we already used Benson, of course. Yeah,
it would be Aaron Rye.
Okay.
87.
Love it.
Playing well. I have no problem with that.
Let's get Wyndham Clark right in there because we didn't put him in the other one, and he's perfect for salary here. Let's see. We're at 7,400 per player. Let's see here. The guy that we both talked about, we both love Seifert, but we already used him. We can't do that again.
What about Ramey?
Yeah, that's the name that I think that I'm drawing towards. So now we're at 72. This is where I might say to you, let's get aggressive. Tell me the guy below 7K that you've liked that we've talked about together here.
Yeah, so this is where it would really help to have someone useful in these ranges.
This is where it's tough, right?
It's probably going to be a flyer at this point. What about Dylan Wu?
Yeah, he's playing better. I just wish he had been taking advantage of some of these weaker field events. Yeah, let's go Dylan Wu. Let's click it. And that leaves us 7,900 or 7,800.
Or We could do this too. You could
Yeah.
go Affy Barnrat, and then we would have enough for Patrick Rodgers.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, get Clark and Rodgers, both guys off the tape. Okay, I'm in. That's number 2. And then number 3 here, let's build without Rahm. Is it got to be Finau? I think you and I are pretty much in line there. If it's not Rahm, you got to have Finau. Is that where you want to go? Okay. And now let's go into that 9s. Do you want to just play Bombers here and go Cameron Champ? Would you build like that, or is it too much for 3 lineups to put Cam Champ in?
No, I don't mind. So let's build one like that. We'll up off the tee as a metric. You know, I build like that sometimes. So you've got Finau, you've got Champ. You don't have to go crazy. You don't need all 6, but I think that's an interesting start, and we still have plenty of salary to work with.
Yeah, we got 75.5 per player. Certainly, if we're talking about off the tee,
in this field.
In this field, geez, I mean, we got to go.
Yeah, there are no good players off the tee.
Like Wyndham Clark again. I mean,
Clark, CH3 a little.
Yeah, he's not bad. Man, you're right. It gets tough, doesn't it? What about David Lipsky? He's not bad off the tee. He can get hot there. Okay. So we got Clark, we got Lipsky, 7,400. Is there anybody? What about Trey Mullinex? Is he ever going to play good again?
Probably not, but for a lineup like this, I think it's all right. You know, you're talking about a tournament centric lineup. You're trying to beat. Hey, you know, this is a perfect thing that I actually would like to do here, and it'll go right into my hot take. If you pick Trey Mullinex, your last guy, it can be a guy that bucks the trend completely, but that's okay to me. It would be CT Pan for me.
Yes. Okay. I had a feeling you were going this way. We get Mullinex at 68. That leaves us 8,100. Right to CT Pan. You got 5 guys off the tee with Pan. All right. Yep. Let's do it. I like those 3. Those are different. Wouldn't expect some of the names to be in there because of the field. Now let's go right into our hot takes. I'll say my 1 first. Brandon Wu continues the hot form. A top 10 this week here. That would be a second top 10 at alternate field or weak field events. I'll give my second one after Ben gives us a CT Pan take.
Yeah, I will. I will give you a CT Pan. I will say for a Yahoo lineup, we talked about this a little. Rahm is $53. There's so many guys at $20 though. For me, Patrick Rodgers and Wyndham Clark down there. Then I'd fill in with the mid range. That's how I played a little on Yahoo this week, and that's how I built. I think that's the way to build this week.
Our buddy, Mr. Saint Steven wants to know if you're going to play Peter Uihlein again this week. 7K, you going to get it done? Is he the minimum on Yahoo? I think he's like 21 or 22.
It needs to go lower than that. Uihlein's so tough. I do think that this is a decent course because he's another guy. Like if you want to talk about Patrick Reed not being exposed off the tee here, that should help Uihlein because he's broken off the tee as well. He's just kind of broken everywhere, though. He needs to flip that putter in the sense that it needs to be elite, not just good. So I'm a huge Peter Uihlein guy, but I don't think I can do it.
All right, here's my other hot take. Typically, we don't go the other way on this, but I'm going to for one of the first times. You ready? At $9,900 on DraftKings this week, Gary Woodland is heading home.
Ooh, that's a good hot take.
After 2 days. I think that the run is done for a little bit. I think the Masters kind of destroyed him, and we'll hear from him in maybe a month or so, somewhere around the US Open.
That is a good hot take. I like that. I can get on board with what you're dropping there. I'm going to go to a guy that I saved intentionally to the end of the show. I think that CT Pan sets up really well here. You can find that top 5 in the team, like 15-1 is out there. He's going to be north of 50-1 in the outrights. He's made 5 of 6 cuts. This is a guy, he's a winner on tour at Heritage, 2nd at Wyndham, 3rd at a Honda, 6th at RSM, 11th at OHL, 13th at RSM. A lot of comp in there. When the putter heats up, watch out because tee to green, it's been really good. I think that CT Pan in the mid-8s is a live dark horse winner of this event, not just playing well. A lot of risk, but potentially a lot of reward.
All right. Greg is going to end our show by choosing violence and telling us again, Jon Rahm is going to withdraw. That will set the PGA DFS industry on a trail that you cannot turn back from in getting people or getting sites to replace a withdrawn player. If it happens this week, it's going to break, I can assure you.
Yes. Russell Knox, top 5. Johnny Hood, top 20. These are good hot takes. I
Ooh,
like
Johnny
what
Hood.
We're seeing here.
Yeah, actually, I really like your call on the top 20s this week because Rahm is in the field. A lot of those odds are longer than they typically would be of golfers that are playing pretty good or could play good this week. So John Hott, top 20. I like that take. All right, that's going to do it for us here this week. Mexico Championship. Next week, we go to TPC Potomac at Avenel Farm. For those of you that have been playing PGA Tour games on video game systems, you know it. It's not at Quail Hollow because Quail Hollow gets to host the President's Cup over the summer, but it is the Wells Fargo Championship. Then we go to Texas for one, north to Oklahoma for the PGA Championship. So those are our next couple of weeks. If you're not an Awesemo Plus member, great time to join for the month, as PGA Championship will be covered in that. So until next week, everybody, make sure you hit the like and subscribe on your way out, and we will see you for the Wells Fargo, everybody. Cheers.
That's why the president.